Tom Cotton was at a hearing on Afghanistan. General Milley was there, and Cotton's going to ask a ridiculous question, and Milley schools him.
What are we to make of this? What steps are we taking to ensure that thousands of Afghans about whom we know nothing are not going to be a menace to our troops at our military bases and to the communities into which they're about to be released?
Well, Senator, I'm certainly aware of the allegations, and I take the allegations very seriously. And I can assure you that our commanders at our bases have what they need to be able to protect our troops and our families that work and live at those bases. And I'm in contact with General Van Herk, the NORTHCOM commander, who has overall responsibility for the operation on a routine basis. And this is an area that he remains cited on.
All right, I've just got one final question. General Milley, I can only conclude that your advice about staying in Afghanistan was rejected. I'm shocked to learn that your advice wasn't sought until August 25th on staying past the August 31 deadline. I understand that you're the principal military advisor, but you advise, you don't decide, the president decides. But if all this is true, General Milley, why haven't you resigned?
Senator, as a senior military officer, resigning is a really serious thing, and it's a political act if I'm resigning in protest. My job is to provide advice. My statutory responsibility is to provide legal advice or best military advice to the president, and that's my legal requirement. That's what the law is. The president doesn't have to agree with that advice. He doesn't have to make those decisions just because we're generals. And it would be an incredible act of political defiance for a commissioned officer to just resign because my advice is not taken. This country doesn't want generals figuring out what orders we are going to accept and do or not. That's not our job. The principle of civilian control of the military is absolute. It's critical to this republic. In addition to that, just from a personal standpoint, you know, my dad didn't get a choice to resign at Iwo Jima. And those kids that are at Abbey Gate, they don't get a choice to resign. And I'm not going to turn my back on them. I'm not going to resign. They can't resign, so I'm not going to resign. There's no way. If the orders are illegal, we're in a different place. But if the orders are legal from civilian authority, I intend to carry them out.
Thank you.
There's a lot of stuff to say about this. So, Tom Cotton is saying, why didn't you resign? Because you weren't able to keep us in Afghanistan longer. 20-year war, and the problem to Tom Cotton was that we didn't stay longer. Reports of profiteering, military-industrial complex greed, trillions of dollars wasted, nothing to show for it, how many people dead, allying with warlords with child sex slaves, and his problem was, we didn't do enough of that. We should have stayed longer, permanently occupy, as our country falls apart, by the way, as our infrastructure crumbles. Why didn't you resign? Because you weren't able to keep us there longer. And his answer is correct. Look, it's not the job of the president. He's the commander-in-chief. He was elected. We have civilian control of the military. That's an important part of America. What was I supposed to do? Override that? Now, by the way, he's a little bit of a hypocrite too, though, Milley, because there was reporting that Milley was effectively undermining Trump at the end. In some ways, the reporting is that he undermined him in a good way, and in other ways, the reporting is that he undermined him in a bad way. The good way in which he undermined him was stopped him from doing any sort of insane, last-minute attack. Again, this is what their reporting was. I don't know how true it is, but the idea was after January 6th, he was very shaken and volatile and was willing to do crazy things, and Milley was like, don't worry, we'll steady the ship. That's some of the reporting. The other reporting is Trump was like, let's pull out of everywhere with our troops after he lost the election, and Milley basically was like, we're not doing that. So that would be him undermining the commander-in-chief and civilian control of the military. So, I mean, he could absolutely be a hypocrite on that front. And then the final thing is they bring up refugees early on to Biden's Secretary of Defense. And guys, conservatives, I don't know how else to say this. They are being vetted. They are being vetted. There was this hilarious story in right-wing media that was like, and this one was caught, and they were a child rapist or something to that effect. And then in the article, they admit, like, and they're being held in a independent place and are going to be deported. So wait, so in other words, the process is working exactly like it should work, and yet you're still criticizing it and saying, we need to vet them. They are being vetted. They are being vetted. They need to find a way to complain because it's more brown people coming in here, and they're like, we can't handle that. Okay, that's effectively what it is, but Tom Cotton, the worst of the worst. The thing that drives me crazy is that all of the pressure on Biden is from the right on foreign policy. There was such an outcry over a withdrawal that he's unlikely to do any further withdrawals. Now, ultimately, Biden has agency, and he's to blame if he doesn't do more withdrawals, but certainly doesn't help that the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the entire media was like, this is the worst thing you've ever done by ending a 20-year war. Ah! It's a goddamn shame, man. It really is. Tom Cotton is the worst of the worst. The neocon hawks would have us invade absolutely everywhere and stay there permanently as our country falls apart.